The rain that night was heavy, like it was trying to wash away every secret hidden in the corners of the world. I stood by the window in my silk robe, staring out at the dark clouds, wondering if I'd crossed a line I could never return from. It wasn't guilt I felt at first, no, it was something deeper, something that twisted in my stomach and whispered, "You'll never be the same again." My name is Yola and I am the picture of a successful woman. I own Iron Eden Bliss Retreat, a place where people come to heal, find themselves, and escape life's troubles. My husband, Chief Joe, made it all possible. He poured millions into my dream and turned it into a reality. He's a good man, kind, generous, but also busy, always chasing the next deal. But this story isn't about him, it's about Pitum, his son from his first marriage. Pitum came into my life like a quiet storm, tall, confident, and with that sly smile that made you wonder what he was really thinking. He wasn't the typical 26-year-old, he had ambition and ideas that breathed fresh life into the retreat. When Chief suggested Pitum as our marketing manager, I was hesitant at first, but over time, we became a team. Late nights in the office became our routine. At first, it was all business, strategy meetings, brainstorming sessions, trying to figure out how to attract more clients. But somewhere along the lines bled. That night, as the rain poured outside, Pitum leaned over my desk, his face lit by the soft glow of the laptop screen. "Auntie E," he said, his voice low but steady, "you don't give yourself enough credit. This whole place, it's you." I laughed, trying to brush it off, but the way his eyes lingered made my heart skip. It was wrong, every part of it was wrong. But I couldn't deny the way I felt. He made me feel seen, heard, and alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. I knew the danger, I knew the risks. Yet, when his hand brushed mine that night, I didn't pull away. The serenity of the retreat, the peace we sold to clients, it felt like a lie in that moment. Because inside me, a storm was brewing, and I didn't know how to stop it. The days after that night felt like walking a tightrope. On the surface, everything was perfect. Guests checked in and out of the retreat, posting glowing reviews online. The staff bustled about, ensuring every detail was flawless. Chief, as usual, was busy with his endless meetings in Lagos. But beneath all that, there was an energy between Pitum and me, an unspoken connection that neither of us dared to acknowledge. At first, I tried to convince myself it was all in my head, maybe I was just overthinking it, reading meaning into innocent moments. But Pitum had a way of looking at me like he saw everything I was trying to hide. One afternoon, we were walking in the garden lounge, reviewing a proposal for an awareness package targeted at high-end clients. Pitum sat across from me, his laptop open, fingers flying over the keyboard. "Auntie E," he said suddenly, breaking the silence, "why do you always doubt yourself?" I blinked, caught off guard. "God, what do you mean?" He leaned back in his chair, his eyes searching mine. "You're always second-guessing, like you don't know you're the reason this place is a success." I opened my mouth to argue, but the words wouldn't come. How could I explain to him that my doubts weren't just about the retreat, they were about everything, my choices, my marriage, the person I had become? "Sometimes," I finally said, "it's hard to see yourself clearly." Pitum smiled that knowing smile that always made me uneasy. "Well, let me remind you then, you're amazing, Auntie E." There it was again, the attention. It hung in the air between us, heavy and undeniable. I looked away, pretending to focus on the papers in front of me, but my heart was racing. That evening, as I walked back to my private quarters, I felt his presence behind me. "Auntie E, wait," he called softly. I turned, clutching my robe around me. "Pitum, it's late, you should get some rest." He took a step closer, his expression unreadable. "I can't pretend anymore," he said. "Can you?" His words hit me like a jolt. I wanted to say something, anything, but my throat was dry. The words felt like they were spinning, and all I could do was stand there, frozen. "Good night," I finally whispered, turning away and walking as fast as I could without breaking into a run. But even as I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, his words echoed in my mind, I can't pretend anymore, can you? The next day, I avoided him as much as possible. I buried myself in work, checking on guests, inspecting the new spa, anything to keep my mind busy. But Pitum had a way of finding me. In the evening, I was in the yoga studio, watching the instructor rehearse for a client session when he walked in casually, carrying a cup of tea. "For you," he said, holding it out. "Pitum, please," I said, my voice trembling. "Please, what?" he asked, his tone soft but firm. "This, whatever this is, it can't happen," I said, barely able to meet his gaze. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "It's already happening." For days, I wrestled with myself every time I saw Pitum. My heart betrayed me, but my mind screamed warnings. I threw myself into running Eden Bliss retreat, trying to silence the storm inside me. But silence doesn't erase feelings. One evening, Chief returned from Lagos unexpectedly. He walked into the dining hall, his presence as commanding as ever. "Alpha," he called out, a broad smile on his face. "I hope you're taking it easy, you're always working too hard." Pitum was nearby, helping the staff arrange candles for the evening's retreat dinner. When our eyes met across the room, I felt a pang of something I couldn't name. Guilt? Longing? I smiled at Chief, grateful for the distraction. "You know me, always busy," I said, walking over to him. He held my hand, his touch warm and familiar. "That's why I married you, your drive inspires me." His words hit me like a wave. Here was a man who trusted me, who believed in me, and I was carrying a secret that could destroy everything. We built together. That night, I sat by the window in our bedroom, staring at the stars. Chief was fast asleep, his breathing steady and peaceful. My mind wandered to Pitum, his words, his presence, the spark between us. It was intoxicating but also dangerous. By morning, I made a decision. Pitum found me in the garden, tending to the flowers, a task I always turned to when I needed clarity. He approached slowly, his face serious. "Auntie E," he said, his voice low. "Pitum," I interrupted, not looking at him. "We need to stop this before it ruins everything." He hesitated. "You feel it too, I know you do." "I'm not denying how I feel," I said, my voice steady despite the storm in my chest. "But feelings aren't always enough. Sometimes, the right thing to do is the hardest." He didn't respond immediately. Instead, he knelt beside me, his hands brushing the petals of a hibiscus flower. "I never wanted to hurt you," he said. "And you haven't," I replied. "But if we let this continue, it will hurt everyone else." We sat in silence for a long time, the weight of unspoken emotions hanging between us. Finally, he stood and walked away, leaving me alone with my thoughts. That was the last time Pitum and I were ever alone together. He focused on his work, and I threw myself into my marriage and the retreat. The spark between us never fully disappeared, but we both knew better than to fan the flames. Advice for women: temptation comes in many forms, but it's important to remember the things that truly matter: your values, your commitments, and the people who trust you. Life will test you, and sometimes the wrong choice will feel so right in the moment. But when you're at a crossroads, choose the path that brings peace, not regret. Ladies, protect your home, your heart, and your peace of mind. Some moments aren't worth the cost of everything you've built.